Hello and welcome to this week's Neumann Update. I'm Alexis Lomax. Over the past few weeks, it's come to the attention of the entire school body that there is a surge in coronavirus cases within the greater Philadelphia region. While this spike is alarming and calls us to make more sacrifices to keep those on campus safe, we find that it is a good time to revisit where our campus stands with COVID-19 cases. Referencing our COVID-19 dashboard, which has been tallying the number of cases since August 31st, we currently have a total of 28 confirmed cases. 9 are within residential students, 10 have been within commuters, and 5 under the category of employees, faculty, or service partners. With positive cases comes contact tracing, the process in which a person who has been exposed to COVID must then backlog who they have been in contact with prior to their symptoms. Neumann University currently has 15 contact tracers, all of whom are staff members from different departments. Each individual who has volunteered to be a contact tracer has taken a 6-hour online course through Johns Hopkins University geared towards individuals dealing with COVID and contact tracing. To find out more specifically of how contact tracing is handled on campus, I spoke with Megan Camp, coordinator of contact tracing. And here's what you should know. At the site of any new cases, who is first notified?
It depends. There's a kind of a group that gets contacted, like if it's a faculty member or if it's the health services, or if it's coming from like the student affairs side. And then it usually gets sent to like health services, myself, David Brownlee, Dr. DiPaolo, and then it kind of starts the mechanism.
So when does contact tracing start?
Student is experiencing symptoms and they talk to their doctor or to telemed, and they're told that they should get a test. We start contact tracing them then.
So how does a student or faculty member determine who needs to be contacted at the site of an exposure?
CDC changed the definition. Originally, you had to be within 6 feet for 15 minutes, and now it's within 6 feet for 15 minutes over a 24-hour period. So, that could be your, neighbor or something that you see like a couple times during the day. So we would, it's really getting down to that minute of detail.
Who on campus gets notified when a period of quarantine should take place?
We reach out to students and faculty, whoever's been exposed. And we have, if they're in the residence hall, we do quarantine the entire room. Just to kind of limit exposure.
What deciding factors determine who gets tested or not?
The person who's showing symptoms needs to test, because from my understanding, even if you were infected, it takes a few days for it to show up in a test. So you might get a false negative. So it's the person who's showing symptoms. Get them to test. And then what we would have done if, say, a roommate did, anyone who's exposed would need to test 5 to 7 days after their exposure. That's from the CDC. And so that's what we've had.
In the incoming weeks, David Brownlee and other executives will conduct meetings to discuss operations for next semester and potentially onboarding more contact tracers. Due to the severity of COVID-19 cases, the university has now declared to move all learning online starting this upcoming Monday, instead of the original November 20th date. With this week being Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week, the Campus Ministry Department held its annual Sleep Out Wednesday night despite the rain. All week long, the Campus Ministry Department has been raising awareness for others in need. They are kindly asking for donations of non-perishable food items, diapers, and warm apparel as we approach this season of giving. Wednesday's night sleep out was kicked off with Agape Latte with Vince Riley, where he opened up on the theme of searching for home. While Wednesday night was a rainy one, students participated in the sleep out seemed to all agree that last year's sleep out was a harder challenge than this year's. Also paving the way for those who are less fortunate than some of us is Preston and Steve's show at 93.3 WMMR as they are running their annual Camp Out for Hunger next week to help the Philabundance organization. If you didn't know, Neumann Media is the official video partner for the event, but nonetheless, this event is huge because it serves a greater cause. Would you ever thought that being hungry would be an everyday challenge for some of us around us? Before 2020, about 1 in 8 people faced hunger, but now because of the global pandemic that we're in, the number has dropped to 1 in 5, which is why Camp Out for Hunger continues to grow each year. Things will look a little different this year than previously, as donations will be taken through drive-through, with no one permitted to exit their cars and no live audience. The drive-through donations will take place Monday through Thursday from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Friday from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. I can't bear to talk about homelessness any longer, so let's go over to Rhea with our sports update.
Thanks, Lexi. Phillies All-Star catcher JT Realmuto has declined the $18.9 million qualifying offer made to him for the 2021 season on Wednesday. This qualifying offer is a one-year deal amongst the average of the MLB's top 125 salaries. With Realmuto's rejection, the Phillies will receive draft pick compensation if he signs elsewhere this offseason. If the Phillies are unable to bring back the best catcher in baseball, a solid free agent fallback option would be former White Sox catcher James McCann. Over the last 3 off seasons, the Phillies have spent over $7 million on acquiring free agents, and they may need to continue that pricey run this offseason as the Phils need to gain some valuable assets in the bullpen and catching roster to boost team improvement. There's not much risk that comes along with having the 21st pick in the NBA draft. In fact, it's highly unlikely that the Sixers will find a future starter in that position. Obtaining this year's first-round pick is a win for the Sixers, with free agentry in the NBA already going off the rails and being 7 days away before teams and players can officially start negotiating contracts. There are so many variables at play, between rumors of Russell Westbrook wanting to part ways with the Houston Rockets and the Sixers' desire to keep the Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons duo intact in the face of potentially trading for James Harden. If the Sixers are lucky enough to snag Harden, they will be cashing out on a prime top 3 scoring threat in the league under contract for the next 3 seasons. Basketball fans have been dreaming of ways to get Harden to Philly, and Sixers president of basketball operations Daryl Morey may just as well be in agreement with some of those theories. While the most abnormal offseason in the history of the NHL is creeping closer to the end, perhaps the second most abnormal NHL season will take place sometime in January, with length and number of games still a mystery of the unknown. Earlier this week, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman said the league was looking into potential hub cities in which teams could possibly travel to a city, play a series of games against a group of teams, then travel back home to be with their families before traveling another round of games in a different hub city. Sounds a little bit complicated, I know, but while this plan is one we have not heard prior to this week and would have seemed very far-fetched in the last 8 months, given the current state of the pandemic and its future, a hub city plan may be fitting for the course of the 2021 season. As the Philadelphia Eagles took their bye week last Sunday, they were helped out by the fact that their upcoming opponent, in that it is the New York Giants, beat Washington to extend the Birds' lead to 1.5 games in the division. But the Eagles are still not out of the dark just yet, and with a brutal upcoming schedule that features non-divisional games still up ahead, they need to continue to take advantage of divisional wins like Sunday's rematch with the Giants, as NFC East champions is still on the brink. This is the second meeting of the season between the two teams, with the Eagles passing a 22-21 victory that was sealed by Carson Wentz's game-winning touchdown pass to Boston Scott in the 42nd remainder of the game. The Eagles are seeking for a similar outcome this week, looking into gaining their 9th straight win over the Giants at MetLife Stadium. Catch all the action this Sunday. Kickoff is slated for 1 p.m. finally shedding some light on what some students here at Neumann University have been putting some extra effort into getting acquainted with professionals in the great world of sports. Our very own Joshua Mobley caught up with NFL Network analyst and former Philadelphia Eagles regional scout Mark Ross to discuss and show acclaim to his experience with racial injustice in the NFL. It certainly is uplifting to hear of inspiring career paths like Mark Ross's journey, where adversity and discrimination is overturned into a great success story. If you find their conversation intriguing as much as I did, tune into Josh's radio show, Real Talk Sports, every Thursday at 5:30. And next week, and don't forget to miss his episode next week as he sits down to interview current Philadelphia Eagles safety Rodney McLeod. Now let's head over to James with news on Shock Factor.
Well, there's an old saying that says it takes half your life before you discover it's a do-it-yourself project. Well, a Massachusetts man named Kevin Martin took that quote into practice after he became fed up with the local potholes while picking up dinner for his family. He began to hit multiple potholes, which flattened all 4 of his tires. He had complained to the local officials, but no action was taken, leaving him tired, no pun intended, and defeated. So he did what any law-abiding citizen would do. Martin went to his local Home Depot, bought some potting soil and Christmas trees, and began to plant them into the potholes on his commute to work the next morning. The stunt was shared across the internet, thanking Martin for his pledge to help his community and spread some early Christmas cheer in the making. Sure enough, they were fixed shortly after. Well, just because Disneyland is closed due to the pandemic, it doesn't mean that you can't recreate the magic of the greatest place on earth right in your backyard. Sean Rochelle, an architectural graduate student at the University of Clemson, put that to the test when he decided to build a roller coaster in his backyard with the help of over 30 family members and friends who were home due to the university campus closings. It started out as a small ride for his kids, but then drastically turned into a 400-foot wide coaster that takes its passengers through mountain tunnels on a thrilling ride to remember. The roller coaster is based on the Matterhorn coaster in Anaheim, California, which is named after the 14,000-foot peak in the Alps on the border between Italy and Switzerland. Sean was inspired to recreate the coaster after recalling fond memories of him and his family riding the iconic coaster as a child. Starting in March and completing the project in July, it was a full-time job for Sean and his family to construct the crazy coaster on top of their day jobs, where he would work on the coaster whenever he got the opportunity to. After first trying to build the coaster with household items, they realized they needed a much bigger budget, spending over $15,000, or the equivalent of premier passes for 7 people. However, Sean said that he was not worried about the money, but rather the coaster symbolizing a labor of love. His dream is to one day get a job with Walt Disney Imagineering, and he hopes that his magnificent masterpiece will open some doors up. And now, let's take a ride not on a roller coaster, but over onto Tech Talk. Well, gamer fans around the world have rejoiced in unity with the release of the PlayStation 5. It is a brand new space-age console that offers a next-generation gaming experience like no other, delighting intermittent and steady gamers alike. The console features higher frame rates up to 8K, a new user interface, 3D audio, and a new generation of PlayStation games and exclusives such as Marvel's Spider-Man, Call of Duty Cold War, and my personal favorite, NBA 2K21. Also included is a state-of-the-art DualSense controller with vivid haptics and a built-in microphone, a first of its kind. The console is now available in select online retailers for $399, with pre-orders being picked up in store. They're starting to quickly sell out, so be sure to pick one up before the resale prices begin to skyrocket. And now, let's check in with Amanda with this week's On a Positive Note.
With November being about a month about being thankful,
And today being World Kindness Day, it is the perfect opportunity to shed some light on some inspiring things people are doing for those around them. Some ladies in Medford Lake, New Jersey have brewed up a plan to help their local Lions Club organization. Brooke Allen Watson loves Halloween and was inspired by an event she saw another city do to raise money and wanted to join in the movement. So Brooke, along with some other ladies in their community, dressed up as witches and pulled out surfboards or paddleboards and broomsticks and floated through Medford Lake to raise money to benefit their local Lions Club as they prepare for this year's Christmas charities. During the pandemic, the Medford Lake Lions Club delivered groceries to those in need throughout their community, as well as other events that have benefited roughly 100 families in their area. One of our own Neumann students has also gone above and beyond to give back to her community. Erica Smith-Sowell is a senior liberal arts major who has started a nonprofit called People Gotta Eat. Erica's journey as a knight did not turn out quite as she originally planned when she started her freshman year back in 2012. Despite her unexpected twists and turns along the way, she is so appreciative of everyone who has been there for her and wants to be there for others in her community. I had the opportunity to sit down and speak with Erica about what inspired her to start her nonprofit, and here's what she had to say.
Through all of this, from 2012 up until, even before 2012, my life has been like this. And I've experienced homelessness myself. I've experienced a lot of different things. And then there were times where people helped me, and sometimes I didn't have to ask, but then sometimes I had to put my pride to the side and ask for help. But there were people who were willing to help me. And so I moved from Philadelphia down here to Atlanta, and I didn't have any place to stay. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a car. I didn't have anything. And so my great aunt wound up taking me and my daughter in and allowing us to stay there with her, which I really appreciated, because if not, then, I would have been homeless, trying to find some place to stay and somewhere to go. The beginning of this year, I actually, I had like this dream, and I really felt like God was just kind of like speaking to me. And it was just like, feed the homeless, help people who are not in your like immediate circle, and I was just like, and he also placed me in a position where financially I was able to do so, and so I said, you know what, let me start feeding the homeless. So it was just me and my daughter at first. And so I had made potato salad, I made potato salad, rice, turkey, and like collard greens, right? And me and my daughter was in here chopping up stuff and prepping stuff and doing all this stuff. And I had made 50 plates, and me and her drove around Atlanta, and we just kind of like passed it out. And then, and I was like, that felt really good, but then it felt really bad when I ran out of food and there was still more people. And I was like, okay, so I need to make more food. So the next time I made 75 plates for me and my daughter, and we rode around and did it. And then I did it again in March, and I was just like, I did it. It was February, March, April. And I was just like, I want to make this like a thing, And so I started doing like research and just kind of asking people like, how do you create a nonprofit in the first place? And, what are the different aspects of a nonprofit? And so I was like, you know what? I was having a conversation with my friends, and I was just like, yeah, like people got to eat. And I was like, people got to eat. People got to eat. And I was just like, that's the name. So I was like super hyped, and I was just like, this is amazing. This is what's going to be called People Gotta Eat. And so my long-term goal is to create a food truck that is People Gotta Eat, and to just ride around and just pass out just plates of food. And I don't just do food, I also do care packages. I buy clothes, or I'm a seamstress, or I'll make clothes. I'll buy like socks. I'll get donations of like shoes and stuff like that, and just kind of like I try to do as much as possible within my means.
Erica says that her biggest inspiration and motivation is her daughter, and she wants to show her that there are so many people in the world that are just trying to be the best person they can be for those around them. If you want to stay up to date with the nonprofit People Gotta Eat, you can check out Erica's website, blam-blacklivesalwaysmattered.com/PGE. Erica is not the only Neumann student that has overcome obstacles and barriers. Nafis Norris, who graduated in May of 2020, has recently been accepted into a 12-month, highly intensive biopharmaceutical engineering program at Thomas Jefferson University, which he never thought would happen. Nafis is also the first African American to be accepted into this program. He says his biggest motivation is to inspire the younger generation and open the doors for more African American scientists as well as STEM students. Nafis's path to get here was not easy, as he has had to make many sacrifices and has even experienced homelessness twice, but he has not regretted any of his decisions. In fact, Nafis is in the process of writing a book that he hopes will serve as inspiration, motivation, and advice, which he hopes to get published by 2022. This book will talk about his experiences from his 9th grade year of high school through today, recounting things he has learned and experienced over the years, which has helped shape him to be the strong and inspirational person he is today. When asked what his one piece of advice he would give to a student is, this is what he had said.
One piece of advice that I always give people is when you put God first and you work really, really hard, your dreams will never come true. Something greater will. Because I could not have drawn this up. And because people talk to me all the time about it. Like, oh, you're the first black guy in biopharmaceutical engineering, da da da. And I'm like, yeah, but I give all credit to God, like point blank period. And, I thank God for the work ethic that's been instilled in me from Dr. Aaron and, growing up in the neighborhood that I grew up in. So, and being around the family that I've had. When you do those two things in particular, your dreams will never come true. Something greater always will.
I hope these stories have inspired you to give back to others and not to let any obstacles stop you from being the best version of yourself. That is everything for this week's On a Positive Note. Now let's head over to Rhea to take a look at what Mother Nature has in store for us next week. Rhea, does it look like the beautiful weather is going to stick around a little bit longer? Is the fall weather finally returning?
Well, Amanda, those people who love the 70s, they may be disappointed with this forecast. And well, after spending 6 days in a row in the 70s, we're a bit spoiled now, but it may be time to say goodbye to those mild temperatures as some cooler fall air begins to move in its way in. 58 was the high today, but then tomorrow takes us even lower to a chilly yet sunny 53 degrees. Sunday brings some sun and some showers by the evening with a high of 60 degrees. A sunny and chilly Monday to start off next week with a high of 55, and by Tuesday and Wednesday, we make way into the mid to high 40s. So maybe now is possibly the time to finally swap out summer and winter clothes, since we may have to start getting used to those average November chilly temperatures. And that's all I have for this week's weather forecast. Take it back to Lexi.
With the switch to online learning coming sooner than intended, Campus Ministry has decided that Mass will no longer be offered this Sunday or any other days throughout the semester. For any students still interested in going to Mass, be sure to check the time scheduling for Church of St. Joseph and St. Francis de Sales Church, our nearby churches. Also, Knights, are you ready for your class? Are you ready to rep your class? The class of 2023 will be celebrated on Monday, the 16th. There will be sophomore class mixer from 3 to 5 p.m., both virtually and in the student multipurpose hall. Seniors, our class mixer will be from 5 to 7 p.m. Music, food, and prizes will all be available, but make sure to check your email and the Nightlife app as details may change. That's all we have for this week's Neumann Update. On behalf of myself and the entire Neumann team, have a great weekend.